Welcome to the podcast show where we talk about the new trends happening. And today, in this session, we have Ruban Phukan joining us. He is a very good friend from my college engineering days, NITK Surathkal. And he has done multiple, entrepreneurs. He has started, ran the show, and then after exited from the business, and now he is focusing on the artificial intelligence. He has extensive experience in AI, machine learning, data science. I remember his old days when he was having some kind of data slicing techniques, and we'll hear more from Ruban Phukan. Ruban Phukan, welcome to the show.
Hey Pradeep, thanks for the kind introduction, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me in your show.
So, Ruban, we all would like to know your journey. You have been hardcore engineer, and then after engineering from KREC Surathkal, how was your journey till today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's interesting because I mean, back in college, if you remember, we never used to talk about entrepreneurship or any of those, right? It
Yeah.
was more focused on getting into a job, right? So yeah, so after I mean college, I've been fortunate enough to get into Yahoo and got the opportunity to work with the co-founder David Filo himself. So he typically didn't have a team in all these years, right? So because he used to work alone most of the time, but around the time that I joined, so that was the first time that he opened up saying that, hey, yeah, I should have a team, right? So I got the amazing opportunity to work directly with him, and we were part of the first data science team that was formed at Yahoo. Back then it was not even called data science, we were called data researchers back then, but got the amazing opportunity to see data and see user behavior and understand user behavior up close. And Yahoo at that time had like almost a lot of different properties, right? Like from the mail and the primary Yahoo website to like finance, music, and you name it, right? So they were like everything. So it was great to see and understand user behavior across those products. So got to learn a lot from there. And like I joked that I also got bitten by the Silicon Valley bug by working with a founder, and that is where I got the inspiration to try and start something of my own, right? So around that time, so there was a vertical search was becoming something new, because and some of the learnings that I had at Yahoo in terms of understanding user behavior across different properties. So we said that how can we take that and extend it to the next level, right? So
Mhm.
vertical search was a very new thing back in 2005. So we created a platform where, based on what kind of jobs a person searches, what kind of travel vacations they search, right, what kind of real estate properties they search, right, so we kind of form anonymous interest profile of an individual, and then be able to get better search results when they move across different verticals, right? So when they move from job search and goes and does a vacation search, right?
Mhm.
So based on the interest profile that we have created on the job search, how can we better recommend better vacation for
Mhm.
that individual, right? So it was again leveraging machine learning and leveraging the early AI. I would say that that was a very early stage of AI compared to what we have today to come up with all those recommendations, right? So back then I started this company in India. So with two other co-founders, and again we have been very fortunate to get a lot of coverage because we were one of the first very few startups or current or the web 2.0 kind of startups in India back at that time. So we got noticed by Naspers group of South Africa, who was setting up their greenfield venture in India called Ibibo. So they acquired Bixie to power the Ibibo search vertical, right?
Mhm.
And eventually the Bixie travel vertical evolved to become Go Ibibo. which probably
Yeah.
you're familiar with, and that
Yes.
was later acquired by Make My Trip.
Yeah.
So after that, I moved on to start my second startup, which was a company called DataRPM.
Mm.
And so there I again got together with two of my two co-founders, Gautam and Sandeep. And so DataRPM was one of the early enterprise AI providers for industrial IoT, right? So this was back in 2012 when industrial IoT just started happening, and we got the amazing opportunity to work with like large manufacturers like GE, Samsung, Siemens, Jaguar, Land Rover, you
Oh.
name it, right? So most of this companies, so back then they were like deploying sensors and they were getting sensor data, but I mean they couldn't make any sense out of it, or they were trying to figure out how can they leverage this information, right? Because they're
Yeah.
all used to seeing more textual or standard data, right? But when it comes from sensors, it was something new even for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we used our platform to basically help them come up with using the sensor data to do things like identifying anomalies in the data so that they can predict failures of machines, right? And then once you are able to predict failures of machine, you can also plan your supply chain and inventory better and things like that, right? So it evolved into a predictive maintenance use case, and we see quite a wide application of that across different industries, right? Not just traditional manufacturers, but even extending into telecom providers and others, right, who are using that data in multiple ways. So then, I mean, in 2017, we were acquired by Progress Software of Boston. So
Mm.
DataRPM is a US based company. So I moved to
I see.
US
Okay. Mm.
back then. So it was acquired by Progress in 2017. So once we completed the transition, so we started working on a platform of how, I mean, this was an early thought because we at Data RPM, we were even one of the first providers of a natural language interface
Mm-hmm.
to data, right? So
Okay.
we had a
Mm.
patent for that back then. So the whole natural language ability to interact with data and machine has always been a kind of an underlying theme. So when we completed the transition of Data RPM, so I wanted to take this to the next level, saying that, yeah,
Mm.
what can we do with a more simpler interface to machine learning, to AI, and what kind of problems it can solve, right? So
Mm.
we were, I mean, one of the early creators of AI agents even before AI agents started happening. And then of course as LLMs came into the picture, so that just accelerated what we were doing. So we started looking at solving problems in the financial side, basically on trading and other related things. But then soon we realized that there are like much bigger potential than just like doing a vertical approach. So this is when we incorporated GoodGist last year. So we have been researching on this technology for almost like 4+ years before we finally decided to incorporate this. And the idea of GoodGist is to make AI usable to business, right? So with a
Mm.
lot of hype around AI, but what we see in the industry as we talk to a lot of businesses is that they're all struggling to figure out what is the best use, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like because organizations start with a mandate saying that we have to AI enable our business, right?
Oh.
Now they are struggling to figure out what is that big bang thing that AI can actually do, right?
Definitely. Yeah. This is a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. So and so we started by looking at from the opposite side. So rather than using AI as a starting point,
Mm-hmm.
go a more bottom up route and see what are the everyday challenges that exist in the business, right?
Correct.
and
Mm.
and can AI, how can AI help, right?
Mm.
And that has been the biggest eye opener as we talk to a lot of professionals across industries, both large as well as small businesses. So we realize that there is, I mean, take any industry, right? So there is a lot of repetitive manual tasks, right? that happens across industries, right? So and it feels like work, right? Because I mean, of course it is work,
Yes.
right? Not that it feels like work, but it's not work, right? So when you look at an, if you put an hourly rate, right, of every individual's time,
Yeah.
some of this task is not really worth that hourly rate that someone has to spend. But then these are tasks that needs to be done,
Mm.
because without that you cannot move on to the
Mhm.
next step, right?
Right.
This is whether you're looking at supply chain logistics industry, where they have to do a lot of document processing. If you look at legal industry, where often they are analyzing legal contract, most of which is standard stuff that
Yeah.
they have to still go through, like 100-page 1,000-page document just to identify if things are proper, right? Or if you look at even regular, I mean, technology companies, from sales, market, even hiring processes,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm.
there's a lot of manual effort that goes in, whether it's on document processing, whether it's on routine communications, right?
Yeah.
Like sending standard emails or responding to standard emails, right?
Mhm.
Or whether it's about doing online research,
Right.
or the standard use cases of around content generation, content repurposing. So all of those actually takes a lot of time. And in fact, we did a research, we talked to professionals, and we tried to quantify what that time is, right? And it showed that on an average, people spend like 28 hours every week
Mhm.
in tasks which are repeatable, mundane, right? Or sometimes it could be even complex task, right, that takes a lot of time,
Yeah.
which
Mm.
an AI agent or a machine can do a lot more efficiently in
Mhm.
much less time, right? And thereby freeing the human time for much more higher order or strategic tasks, right? That is really what, where human intuition, human knowledge is required, rather than doing repetitive tasks, right?
Mm.
So that became the core of what we do at GoodGist, is to enable anyone to create AI agents. And that is where the other factor is, that with a lot of AI talk, it boils down to, again, somebody understanding how the technology works, right? How
Mhm.
LLM work, how to do prompt engineering, how to collect data, right? How to put proper guardrails. It's a lot of effort, so it's not easy for anybody to use AI as is, right? So although, I mean, tools like ChatGPT and others have made it seem very easy, and it's great for doing like knowledge search, right? But when it comes to automating business processes, right? So that is where it becomes a lot more complex. So our goal was to remove that complexity and make it as simple as possible businesses to create, so that anybody can create AI agents, right? To automate their everyday task.
Mhm.
It should not require coding, it should not require learning about AI technology, but it should be as simple as giving instructions to someone in your team, right?
Yeah.
To a new employee, of saying that, hey, this is what you need to do, right? So our vision is to make AI seem like augmentation to the workforce,
Mhm.
and not like a software, right? Not something that you have to invest time and have a learning curve, but more like an addition to your team, a team member where you can give instructions saying that I need help on this task, do it for me and give it in this format,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So getting it to as simple.
Perfect.
Simple, that's the
Yeah,
journey.
you gave the cracks of it. Yeah. And perfect starting of this podcast, I would say. Ruben, I read somewhere that Good Gist aims to democratize AI agent creation, right?
Yeah.
So how it is gonna help the the small and the medium size? Okay, big business they can afford. How about the small businesses?
AI at work, right? Or in fact, feel that the biggest impact that AI can make in the industry today is by helping every individual, every professional to automate those tasks, right, in their everyday work life, which is again not, like I said, it's not worth spending their time,
Mm.
but it needs to be done. It's almost like having a AI assistant for everybody, right?
Uh-huh. Okay.
So to make that happen, there has to be a few things, right? A, there should not be any significant learning curve in using AI agents, right?
Mhm.
So if somebody has to learn about AI technology, LLMs and prompt engineering and all of those complexities, APIs and things like that, so then we have already lost the battle, right? Because we are then expecting people in a, let's say, in a small medium business who are already time constrained
Mm.
to invest more time to do something
Yeah.
else. So that's not going to work.
Mm.
Second is the cost factor, right?
True.
So if, I mean, to implement AI based automation, it requires you to hire a large team of data scientists and
Mhm.
I mean engineers and all of those to implement the system for you. Again, that's not going to work, right? So our focus has been a, how do we make it simple? How do we make it as simple as sending an email to someone to say that get this done for me, right?
Mm.
Or providing instructions in a natural language way which just explains everything, right? So
Right.
what we do is that the challenge is that how do you build AI agents, right? Then if you rely on people to give instructions, because yeah, you have to somewhere translate it into a programmatic manner, right? Or you have to translate it into prompts that the AI technology understands, right?
Right.
So for that, we have implemented an AI agent
Mm.
that helps build AI agents for you, right? So
Right.
when you give your instructions to GoodGist, a AI agent behind the scene or a AI agent builder behind the scene will go through your requirements, ask you more questions
Mhm.
as to what exactly do you need. If there is ambiguity, it'll ask you for all of those clarifications. And as you provide those interactions, right? So it's almost like working with a consultant, right?
Right.
You
Mm.
give your requirement, they ask back questions, you answer them, they ask more questions, and finally, when everything is clear, it's being implemented, right? So we do it the same way. The AI agent will follow that same process, ask clarifying questions, and then finally create an AI agent to automate your task, right?
Yeah.
So which means that anybody can do it, so there is no cost, you don't have to hire a team. And secondly, behind the scene, we take care of all the complexity that goes in scaling the system, right?
Right.
All the necessary guardrails that needs to be put to make sure that it works accurately, so
Mhm.
that those complexity is hidden. And then the pricing that we have is a usage based
Yeah.
pricing, right? It's based on how much you use, what kind of use case. So basically it helps you scale from simple use case to more complex. So that's how we are trying to democratize this to make it a fast, easy, scalable as well as affordable to anybody, right? Whether it's a small use case or a large enterprise use case.
This makes sense. This totally makes sense. So for the for the viewers, I'm telling you that I got connected with Ruben, and then Ruben has given me access to his platform. And in the beginning, I was thinking, what do I do? I mean, the typical problem. Like, I mean, even if I talk to somebody out, my friend or my colleagues, and I talk to them that, okay, why don't we use the AI agents or AI to speed up our work, reduce the time consumed, increase our productivity, utilization, and all those stuff. I talk to them. And then they are kind of at that point of time, they understand what AI can do, but then they have a mind block. Oh, how do I start? Or otherwise, I don't see a reason where I can basically decrease the time or increase the productivity. Everything is automated on our side, so there is no place, something like that they think. Or otherwise they think that, okay, they have no idea, the mind block. I do not know how to start. So what happened, I got this platform access, and one day I just started, okay, let me try doing something. Okay, so I started doing a small agent creation, and I was surprised pleasantly because it worked. I just typed few lines, and then just clicked on the button submit, and then that the agent did something, proceed, and then they started writing something, and in the end there was a nice agent ready, waiting for my instructions, my inputs to give. I used it, tested it, and worked pleasantly. Really, I mean, such a charm way it worked out and gave me. I am saving a lot of my time basically because of that, and I got like addicted to it. Then I started building a lot of agents on this platform. It's working well. Of course, if there are any issues which comes up, then his team, they was like very quick in responding, hearing me out. I have been multiple times, I think 3 4 times with the team in the calls with my request, my requirements, explaining it to them, and they were coming up very quickly with their solutions and then say, look Pradeep, this is there, you can try test it out, let me know. So Ruben, wonderful, wonderful work. I can tell you, I'm the direct user, you can say. Of course, in the beginning, I was like, okay, how can I do it? But now I am addicted. Now my everyday is with your platform. It goes through your platform.
No, really appreciate your kind feedback on that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's good to hear from people who have been using the platform on how it's making a difference. So thanks for sharing that.
yeah, definitely. And maybe later on, I'll come up with some kind of use case and show it as an additional to this podcast, how I have done on my side, so people will get also the idea what they can do in their own business, because then they will see and they can start seeing in their world how AI agents can work. Even the small 1% companies, small teams, or a big large teams, everyone can benefit out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see like more and more smaller and medium sized businesses can have the highest benefit because it kind of helps them scale at a level which was not possible before, right? So I mean, a big challenge that every company has to grow is the human scale challenge, right? So they
Mhm.
need more people to grow, and they need more people to take on more business, right? So especially anyone who is working on service oriented business, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
significant. So with AI augmenting their workforce, so they can now do a lot more
Mhm.
with the same team, right? And take on a lot more business and do it more cost effectively. So I think it can make a huge difference and create like a even playing ground for even small and medium businesses.
Mhm. Yeah. So, Ruben, another example I want to give, related contextual example. Recently, I was discussing with my brother. He's in India. I'm here in Germany. Okay, and I wanted to hand over some of my stuff which I'm doing here to him so that he can do it. Then at the beginning, he was saying, asking to me, I do not know much about this. I know sales, but I do not know much about the operational part of this business. How will I do X thing or Y thing? And then I said, okay, these are your challenges. I understand it very well. And then I started explaining it that, okay, the whole process is do X, Y, Z in this business. Okay. X thing is automated. Y thing is the next call I was explaining, even the Y thing is automated now. And because I was learning on your platform and I was developing those agents, then I started showing him almost like the top first 30% is already automated of the whole process. Then then he said to me, then brother, what is left for me? Where should I pitch in? I said, you have a crucial work, but these other things which are mundane and repetitive, low brain areas, these works are already automated. You just have to click a button. That's it. And he was super happy. I will be talking to them tomorrow, most probably, and then onboarding some of my work to them so that they can do it, start doing it themselves. Back to good gist then again. Ruben, initially, when I saw the good gist, I thought that it is about the skill development, some kind of that learning platforms. So, what I was missing there, actually, or what is now and what is the difference? Was there anything related with learning platform, something like that?
Yeah. So one of the first use case that we use AI agents for, or we created AI agents and started offering before we started opening up the whole platform
Hmm.
for anybody to create AI agents, is that we started building learning agents, right? Because it's also the starting point that everybody was trying to learn about AI, right? and all the related problems that digital transformation is bringing to businesses, right? So when
Mm.
it comes to issues like cybersecurity and things like that. Now, the challenge with traditional learning platforms, or what we like to call it as one size fit all learning, right, is that I mean, the nature in the world that we live in is that people's time is getting crunched every day. People don't have time to learn new stuff in a more elaborate way. They don't have like 40 100 hours to spend
Mm-hmm.
in learning technology in depth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the attention span, because of the digital generation, is also reducing, right? So we what we used to learn when we were kids, right, and the attention span that we had in going through books and reading books, so that attention span with the digital world is like fading significantly, right? So
Yeah.
people are more tuned to learning fast, which is the new concept of micro learning that is emerging, right? That you have to learn on the job and fit it into your tiny available schedule, right? So the only way to then make learning effective is that if the learning is hyper personalized, right?
Mm.
So rather than, suppose you want to learn about, say, generative AI,
Yeah.
rather than learning everything under the sun about generative AI, right? So if you learn about generative AI very specific to the context of the work that you are doing
Mm-hmm.
and how can it be applied there, it's a lot more relevant, it's a lot more practical, right? But that means that the learning has to know what your use case is, right? So what are you working on, and create learning which is tailored to your needs, right? Now, this is impossible to do it manually, right? Because, yeah, I mean, if you have to create learning based on the proficiency level of the user, right? Based on their use case, what they are working on as an individual, right? And based on the goal as to why they want to learn the technology, and what is the purpose of it, it becomes a huge challenge, right? So the standard learning platforms, they cannot do that, right? So which is why they try to create a one size fit all course by
Mm.
trying to generalize as much as possible,
Yeah.
right? Which is good, which is works for like more from a student's perspective who is trying to learn everything about that. But for
Mm.
more advanced career professionals, it becomes a huge challenge to go
Huge
through all of it.
challenges. Yeah. Yeah.
So we started creating AI agents that will personalize a course content for your exact need, right? So it will understand what you are trying to learn, what is your proficiency level of that, whether you are a business user, technical user, or what your role is, and where are you trying to apply that learning, right?
Mm.
Based on that, it will create a very personalized learning path for you. And it's not just technology learning, right? It could be business, like soft skill learning and other things
Mm.
customized for your need. So that is where we started. That was the first agent that we created and we offered. And then we started extending our entire platform so that you don't have to only solve learning problems, right, or upskilling problems. You can pretty much solve any kind of business problem using
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. Ruben, tell me one thing. I mean, in my business or any business you consider, we guys are already using different kind of tools or platforms already. Okay. Now we are talking about another platform, GoodGist. But how do I make this platform talk to that platform, take the input from platform A into GoodGist, and then do all the magic work of AI agent, and then update the platform B with the result? Is this possible, or do I have to do it manually then?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very valid question that you have asked, and a very valid point, which let me touch upon another concept right
Hmm.
here
Yeah.
that we are trying to solve with AI agents. Is that if you're familiar with traditional robotic process automation,
Yeah.
RPA, right?
RPA. Yes.
So RPA was meant to help solve mundane tasks like this, right? Where
Hmm.
you have to talk between multiple software, or you have to like take information from one, update the other, and automate your business process. So although it was a robotic process, and the real goal of RPA was to do what AI agents can do today, but because of the technology not being as evolved back then, right? So it fell back on being just a rule based system, right? So you can automate the processes, but you have to write all those rules in details of how do you connect to the software, what do you have to fetch, what do you have to do. You have to write rules for each and everything, so it became more like a programmatic rule engine,
Hmm.
right? Now, which is where the challenges started emerging, because to implement RPA, there is a huge implementation effort, because somebody has to create all those rules, right?
Yeah,
And
somebody
then
has to explain the rules,
exactly,
understand the rules, and implement. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Now the software changes, you'll have to again go and repeat all those changes, right? So maintaining it is also equally challenging. So RPA has then become like a very expensive effort that only like large businesses can afford to automate their processes, right?
Mm.
So now with the state of technology where AI is and what AI agents can do, is that AI agents has the level of autonomy, right? Or you can let AI agents figure things out,
Mm.
or figure those rules out without having to spell out every single detail, right?
Yeah.
So for example, you could say that, hey, connect into system A, which is like maybe a CRM system, right? And for all the new leads that I have got, so basically do a online research about those companies, right? And
Mm.
identify what they do, right? Identify how would a solution fit their requirement, right? And come up with a personalized email or a
Mm.
pitch
Yeah.
to them, which will resonate what they are working on, rather than giving them a generalized pitch, right?
Yes.
Now you could provide the instructions as simple as this, right? And the AI agent can figure out, yeah, when they connect to a CRM system, it can identify what is the schema of the CRM system, how to pull the relevant information, how to do the lookup,
Mm.
browsing the website, identifying what a company does, and collecting all those information
Mm.
without you having to spell out every single detail,
Hmm.
steps of how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So that is a big difference, because today the AI systems or AI agents have the capability to think, and that is the big change that has happened with the recent advancement. Is that AI agents can reason, they
Mm.
can plan, and they can act,
Mm.
right? So that enables you to do a lot more, almost like giving instruction to, let's say, somebody in your team
Yeah.
to say, go and explore the system, figure out how to extract information, but I need this to be done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a I would say that with agentic, so what we like to call it as a agentic process automation, which is
Mm.
probably next very higher level compared to what RPA
Okay.
used to be,
Mm.
right? But yes, what you are suggesting, that is exactly what AI agents can do.
Mhm.
By and those are the processes that you would want to use AI agents for, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not worth somebody's time to just learn a software to be able to just put information or extract information from it, right?
Right.
Also creates a big point, is that the direction in which enterprise software, or for that matter any software, is headed, is that the future of maybe the user interface to software will become more and more agentic in nature, right? More and more conversational in nature. So
Mm-hmm.
that now the learning curve for the software would go away,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a standard interface, right? So you are just talking to a software, or for that matter, you don't even need to learn different types of software, right? It
Yeah.
becomes more like a universal interface where you can say that, yeah, put my leads somewhere, right? So you don't have to think that, oh, I need a CRM software, or put my inventory information or access my inventory information, right? You don't again have to think that, oh, I need a ERP
Mhm.
software behind the scene, right? Because with in the agentic interface, it can figure out where to access information from, right?
Yeah.
And which is where we also see companies like Salesforce who have announced a hard pivot, right, even at this stage, to become like a agent
Yes.
company, right?
Mhm.
Because I think that's the future that enterprise software is headed, that it'll become more and more agentic. You don't
Mhm.
have to really learn software. You basically interact with agents who does your work
Yeah.
of connecting to software behind the scene, right? Or essentially what you expect out of a software to do, the agents can pretty much do the same thing.
Yeah. So, Ruben, at the moment now, what I see is, observe is that at least there are two type of people in the organization. One side, maybe it was always there. This was the case that one side is like far sighted. They are looking at the future and they want AI implement. I mean, they want the AI also to be implemented in the organization. And there is other one a little bit laid back. Potentially, they don't have the, they cannot foresee it, or they do not know what kind of wave is coming, tsunami is coming in the lives of because of this AI, and they don't see the real use case in their day, so their, I mean, everyday's life. Yeah. So this kind of differentials is happening at the moment, and maybe very soon, down the year 5 years, this whole thing will dissolve and everything will become okay. The whole force will move only with the AI. What is your take on this?
Yeah. So I think we have seen the same with every technology transition that happened, right? So when we look at even the shift to internet, right?
Yes.
When it started happening, and we have the classic case of Blockbuster versus Netflix, right?
Mm.
Blockbuster said that, yeah, I mean, who would order movies
Right.
over internet, right?
Right.
Whereas Netflix saw the shift, right? So which is why they exist today. They continue to thrive. They're a
Hmm.
massively big business wherever, whereas Blockbuster faded away, right?
Yeah,
uh,
and I read that book. That Netflix went also to them once one time to get acquired, but then it was rejected.
so I think that's a standard way of how things evolve. There are always people who are resistant to change, to say that, yeah, I mean, this is not going to work. Whereas there are others who are like early adopters, right?
Mm.
So eventually, I mean, you have early adopters, late adopters, and you have like no adopters, right? Or who are completely averse, right? Who says that, yeah, this will not work. So early adopters and late adopters are fine, because yes, I mean, there are businesses who takes time because of the nature, because of the compliances, because of a lot of other factors, right, to adopt new technology, but they would eventually adopt, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then there are others who, not because of compliance issue, but more because of human issue, right?
Yeah.
Or because of the nature of how they operate, is that they are completely averse to new technology.
Hmm.
So those are the businesses who would eventually, as a technology shift happens, they'll kind of fade away, right? So I think, I mean, whatever said and done, like you have said, in the next 5 years, AI would become like an integral part of the business, right? So
Hmm.
so today we talk about AI as something separate, as something different, like,
Hmm.
which was back when, let's say, cloud technology came in, we started talking about cloud as something different. Or go back when internet came in, we started talking about internet as something different. Or if you go even further back, when computers first came in, people started talking about computers as something different, right? it,
Yeah.
it was like paper versus computer, right? Or
Mhm.
manually done stuff with pen and paper, and maybe a calculator versus
Yeah.
doing stuff on computers, right?
Hmm.
And then eventually it becomes so integral and blended part of life that today we don't talk about that, oh, I work on computers and I don't work on computers. It's like everywhere, it's accepted, right?
Right.
Or if you work on computers, nobody asks you that do you do things locally or do you do use internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it has become blended, right? So there's no difference. Or today cloud has become ubiquitous, right? So nobody says that, oh, do I have my own data center or cloud? Yeah, I mean, there is still some conversations there because it's more recent and new. But when we look at another 5 years down the line, AI will kind of get integrated into every processes, that it will not, you'll not even think of, oh, do I use AI or do I not use AI, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just there. It's part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that is where we'll see more of AI agents being kind of becoming like a default,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it being used. Now, some businesses will leverage it more, some businesses will leverage it less, but it will be
Yeah.
almost there everywhere,
Yeah.
right?
That's what I think I hear. Even the AI enabled mobile phones. So I think now the AI enabled mobile phones are coming. I think the mobile applications will also come because every application has to be rewritten with the AI, thinking AI in the back end, how it can work out. So, like you remember our Y2K challenge issue was there earlier. I mean, this keeps on coming. It's a solutions to problem, problems to solution. This whole circle is keeps on coming in. This was really wonderful. Now we are moving towards more, related with risk and issues, ethicals, data privacy. So tell me one thing. If I have a mind, I mean, every people are different. Okay, they think differently. They have their own way of solving the problem. Can I use AI for unethical things? That means deliberately instructing the agent, do this wrong for this person.
Any technology can have misuse, right? So people have been misusing internet and computers to hack into other systems,
Hmm.
right? And do really damaging stuff. So the problem is not the technology. The problem in all of
Okay.
those is humans,
Yeah.
right? So yes, there are bad elements anywhere who would leverage technologies for doing things which can be damaging, right, in a major way. So people talk about AI being a threat, AI maybe wiping human civilization in the future. I think more than AI being a threat, I mean, it's actually humans that are a bigger threat, are a more immediate threat
Yeah.
of misusing technology, right? So because a technology in itself is not good or bad, right? I mean, a technology is a tool at the end of the day. Is how you use the tool. You can use the tool to build something good,
Hmm.
or you can use the tool to break something, right? So it all boils down to people. So yes, can AI be used to do bad stuff? Absolutely. Already happening. People are doing certain things which is already there, right? Using AI. There's a lot of misinformation being spread, right? So if we look at
Oh.
the fakes and things like that, right,
Mhm.
which people are using AI to create like fake images, fake videos of
Mhm.
people, right? So all those things are already happening. But like with any technology, it's always about building the counter measures, right?
Yeah.
Building necessary guardrails, defining proper laws, so that, again, I mean, yeah, you would have lawbreakers, but as long as there is a
Mhm.
strict law and strict measures to counter that, I mean, that is how the society functions, right? So I think all those will play out the same way
Mhm.
that it always played out with other technology as well.
Okay. Okay. So that means we might be having some people using AI agents for hacking, but at the same time, there will be other people like police. They will be blocking as well the
Correct.
security side as well.
Yeah.
So eventually, the equilibrium will be maintained, kind of,
Yeah.
for the society.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what about the biasing and the fairness here? Can, say for example, can it be possible that the information, because AI is potentially like leveraging or depending on the information which is there on the internet and their LLMs, and if their LLMs are the data or the information which they are feeding on, if that data itself is corrupted, say for example, on a huge scale by someone, then do you see that these will result into biased, unfair results?
Yeah, again, bias and discrimination is more like a human thing, right? I'd go back to that, is that yes, technology would be like garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you
Mm.
feed with a lot of bias and discriminatory data, right, and it's like one sided, it will get bias, right? Now, the same thing applies to people as well, right? So let's say
Yeah.
I go to social media and and it's very relevant, given that now elections are due
Mm.
in US, and it's like a little bit of, I mean, not little bit, it's a very
Yeah.
polarization is always there. There are people who support one party versus the other, right? Now you could go online
Hmm.
and could see negative things about one candidate, right?
Yeah.
And positive things about the other candidate, and you could get biased if you just see one side of the equation, right?
Hmm.
You go to the opposite side, you'll see the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Now, and how do you make a fair decision is that you have to see both the information, right? If you're
Yeah.
fed with only one-sided information, you will always be biased. And that's no different, is that if someone goes online and only reads one side, you get biased if you see both. Now, one advantage, because all these LLMs are being fed with information from the entire web, right?
Hmm.
So the web is, I would say, kind of, it's like how the wisdom of the crowd kind of works, right?
Okay.
So
Average wisdom, you mean?
it'll be averaged out, right? So
Yeah.
it'll have both the sides of it, right? So which is where, I mean, feeding LLM, or trying to create own LLMs is a risky proposition, right? So it's always better to go with the foundational models, which are being trained on pretty much all, or at least large part of the data which is available. Now, does that eliminate bias? Absolutely not, right? Can you still get AI agents to be biased? Sure, right? Because you could offer feedback. You could, on top of the LLMs, you could insert more biased information, and that makes the agent biased as well, right?
Okay. Mm.
But then the whole point is that by nature technology is not biased,
Mm.
right? Or we cannot say that AI agents are biased or discriminatory, right? So foundational models, I don't think are biased,
Mm.
because if it has been fed the entire internet information, so they will see both sides, right? They will
Mm.
see positives as well as negative side, and hopefully that balances things out. But having said that, so there is always, I mean, there are no guarantees,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, it's a black box, or the way it learns. So what is important is to put the necessary guardrails on top of it, right? Have feedback mechanism,
Mm.
saying that, yeah, if you see a biased information in the context that you're using this for, you should have an ability to provide feedback, right? And again, I mean, which is why I keep saying that treating AI agents as equivalent of as your workforce, right? So just like if you hire
Ah,
a person
got
in
it.
your team, and they come up with some biased notions, right?
Yes.
How do you correct them? Is
Yes.
that you provide feedback saying that,
Right.
yeah, this is bias, right? This is
Mhm.
not what you should think. So it's the same way, right, with AI agents as well, that you have to provide feedback, and there has to be a feedback mechanism to provide that information to the AI agents, right? So whenever you see any bias information, and then have the proper guardrails to say that what kind of possible discrimination that an AI agent can do at this for
Mm,
your use case, right?
mm,
And how do you mitigate that upfront? So that should be part of the design effort as you are trying to think of AI agent use cases
mm.
and provide those guardrails in.
This makes sense. Yes. End of the day, I should also use my mind. Right. Oh, good, good. So this was wonderful, really wonderful, Ruban. Must be very useful for the viewers as well. I think regulations will take its own time and then will come to help the weird practices if somebody is into kind of like avoiding those people or guarding those people that they don't do any mischief activities. I understand that AI agents and the human jobs, they are like, I mean, it's not like that human jobs will be repriced here if people they keep themselves upgraded, right, Ruben? Can
Yeah, so the nature of the job will change, right? So if we say that AI agents is not going to replace certain jobs, that won't be true, right? So it is clear that some of the jobs will get replaced, right? So just
mm,
like every technology has done that, right? But that doesn't mean that it will render people jobless, right?
mm,
So like you have said, it's very important to understand how to equip yourself, how to upskill yourself, right, for this change that is coming, right? So yes, while AI would replace certain jobs, it will end up creating different kind of jobs,
mm.
right?
Interesting.
Where the job is about how do you manage AI system, how do you work with AI system, how do you deploy AI systems to do certain tasks, right?
Hmm.
And yes, so I think, and that has not been unique to AI. It has always happened. When industrial revolution happened, it replaced a lot of jobs, but it created new jobs, right?
Yes.
When the whole computer revolution happened, again it did the same thing. It replaced jobs but created a lot more new
Hmm.
jobs. So I think, I mean, as a human race, we are always in constant change. We are always making progress, right? Every progress becomes a shift.
Yes.
And and yeah, I mean, it's all about how do you constantly keep upskilling yourself or reskilling yourself, right, as technology changes. I think that is the key.
Yeah. Good. So, Ruben, let's talk about the good gist. If I'm a business user, say for example, and I want to make use of good gist for my work, I want to add good gist agents as my into my workforce. What do I need to do?
Yeah, so I'd say that go to goodgist.com and submit your request. We are currently in private beta. We'll probably open it up entirely later this year or early next year. But we are taking private beta requests. You can sign up, you can specify your use case. Our team will respond back immediately, and then, I mean, understand your use case and give you access, and then we'll help you with the initial setup, right, for the use case that you are trying to do. And then eventually, I mean, it's a very easy to use. There's no significant learning curve at all. So, and then you can pretty much take over, implement it for more use cases that you have,
Hmm.
and go forward from there. And yes, I mean, we are looking for private beta users who can provide us early feedback,
Right.
and our team is absolutely responsive in implementing those feedback.
Mhm. How is the ecosystem, good gist ecosystem? So is this just the good gist and the end users, or is there anybody else also in the ecosystem?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of partners. There we have partners across different geographies, primarily because we want to work with people who are domain experts in a particular field, right? So they understand what are the day-to-day challenges that their customers face, and where they can actually help their customers solve some of those problems by using AI agents, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So while we of course directly sell to customers as well, but a large part of our business also comes through our partners
Mm.
who does that. And again, I mean, we are open to anybody signing up as a partner who has a domain knowledge, who feels that they can build specific AI solutions for that domain and take it to their customers as well. So
Mhm. Okay. So, Ruben, one last kind of use case. Say, for example, I have somebody in Switzerland. Okay.
mhm.
Now, this guy is more into legal system, revolutionizing the legal system. Okay. In the legal system, like personally, what I have done, whenever I get a contract, I feed it into your agents and I ask the agents, give me the pros and cons and balance the imbalancing factors of this contract. And it just assesses it. And then in the end, it gives me the table. Okay. At this location, please go and then recalibrate or otherwise talk to the other person and then get the revised version of the contract. Okay. So, how do you see for this legal system for my friend who is in Switzerland?
So we have pretty much customers in multiple regions who actually use it for legal document processing. So for example, we have a real estate customer. So what they do is that for every project that they work on, they have to create like 1,000-page documents with all the building codes and city approvals and things like that. And then finally they have to make sure that all those documents are proper, there are no anomalies, no
Yes.
incorrect,
Yeah.
right? So which, it's a very time consuming process, right?
Yeah.
And they have to comply to the state level, city level regulations, right?
Yeah.
So it's a time consuming process. So what they do is that they, for every city where they are actually working on, so they feed in that information, what are the compliance requirements, they
Mm.
feed in their documents, and the AI basically makes sure that it identifies if there are any mismatch, right? If there are
Uh-huh.
any, which typically would have taken their team hours to go through, AI agents can do it in a matter of seconds, right? So I would imagine it will be a similar requirement where they feed in what are the regulatory compliance legal requirements of Switzerland or wherever they're looking at, and then the document and say that, hey, analyze this, identify if there are any issues in it and things like that.
Mhm. And also something like that. Usually, what happens when we are negotiating with our customer, in the contract document we have some dates. They become a little bit old, I mean, when the negotiation process is a little bit longer, 2 months, 3 months, and these dates become old, or
Correct.
otherwise the dates are not in sync. Maybe they don't make sense somehow. So these are the small things which potentially humans can miss. But then the agents will be very vigilant and they will go through, oh, this doesn't make sense, please correct it, and all those checks and checklist it can do for.
So great point. So on that, we recently have been working with insurance
Yeah.
reseller from New Zealand, right?
Mhm.
So for them, what happens is that when they send across the insurance proposal, so they have a standard template. They would modify the name, they'll modify the information and then send it, right? Now, because it's a document, they save it, they would reuse and change the customer's name and all of those and send it. Sometimes they miss, right? So
Yes.
what happens is that it's the another customer's information that they forgot to replace. Right? that
Okay.
that that could, I mean,
Yeah.
those kind of human errors
Yeah, human
happen
error. Yeah.
all
Right.
the time, right?
Yeah.
So they are using AI systems to actually help minimize all those kind of human errors
Mhm.
or eliminate those human errors, because AI can detect immediately, saying that, yeah, this information, it doesn't match,
Yeah.
right? Or this looks like a different user information than what you have intended it for. So all those it can auto detect and help them save lot of compliance and
Hmm.
other headaches that typically arise out of human errors.
Super, super useful. I tell you, I mean, these kind of small, shameful mistakes can be really avoided. Yeah, using
Yeah.
these agents. Yeah, I see a big use case, and I see the wave. I mean, it will take over every company, or every small, medium, big size companies. Big size as probably they are already using it. Say, for example, no, yesterday I was talking to one of our other KRECN, NITK graduate, Sachin Kamath. He's doing introducing AI into the creative industry. Okay, so
Right.
like, say for example, building a pitch book, yeah, storybook, for example, for business people. And then he says people will spend so much of time, so much of money, and they will get some kind of pitch. But if they adopt AI, then they can start at least prototyping the pitch. Okay,
Yeah.
which is more, I mean, to the personalized. Okay, also, which is more personalized to their needs. They can prototype very quickly. I have
Yeah.
used, say, for example, Midjourney, Runway, these things, tools to create some images just by prompting. And it's awesome, really awesome. I cannot believe it. It can give me those results in 2 minutes or less than 2 minutes. Yeah. So this, otherwise, I would have searched on the internet, or I do not know what I would have done. Maybe days or weeks just to get one image or something like that, and for my website and all. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think the human creativity aspect, because again, we do hear a lot of concerns around that as well, saying that is this helping, is this going to reduce the creativity, right? Because at the end of the day, if we use AI to create new content, so essentially AI is feeding on older
Mhm.
content, right? Based on that they're learning, right? So does it, at some point of time, if everybody is just using AI to create, right,
Yeah.
does we reach a limit of human creativity, right? But I mean, the key is that it's not about only relying on AI to do everything. So one very important point, and as we work with customers, we also say that, right? So it's not about AI automating everything and everywhere. There is a key element of human in the loop,
Hmm.
right, in that AI process. And that is important in all of those aspects, right? So in terms of providing feedback, in terms of providing creative inputs, right? So what all of these are doing is that, yeah, you leverage AI to do certain part, which are, even in the creative journey, there are certain things which are like time consuming or manual, right? So having a human in the loop where AI is doing something, human provides feedback, and that, so that is where makes it a lot more effective than saying that, yeah, I'll just have AI do everything for me and I'll sit and do nothing, right? So of course, I mean, that's not going to work. And I think, I mean, creativity is not at risk because humans are inherently creative natures, right? So at least when time gets freed up from doing mundane things, then it actually elevates human creativity to a whole different level, right? And then we've seen that during the COVID times, right? That when people had more time, because now they're like, they're under lockdown, they're at home, the level of creativity increased to a dramatic level, right? And the kind of things that people were doing on social media was pretty amazing during
Yes.
COVID phase, right? So yeah, so I think it's all about two things. So I mean, human in the loop is crucial. You cannot just have AI do everything end to end and without like zero supervision based way or zero input based way.
Yeah.
The secondly is that, yeah, once time gets freed from mundane work, so that is where human creativity
Yeah. Yeah.
is basically fueled, right? Or goes to a whole different level. So
Yeah. In fact, when I'm doing mundane task and repetitive task, and so many tasks similar, then my creativity is okay, is gone then, because I will just do the task. I will think about finishing the task or otherwise hating the task. But when those tasks are automated, then I have free time, and that's where I can think more about, okay, what's next now? What should I do now? I don't just sit
Exactly.
there, right? This is
Exactly.
wonderful, Ruben. I really appreciate your time spending explaining us about GoodGist platform. I urge the viewers, go sign up for GoodGist and then check it out as soon as it is available to you. Check it out. I'm very much sure that you will be blown away by the things it can do. I'm using it for my purpose. Um, Thanks to Ruben, and you will also get a chance afterwards. You will do wonderful things out of it, and you can. I mean, always think of. I read a book. If you have not read this, then read this book. Buy back your time, and I'm totally inspired by this book, and that's the reason that this AI agent I'm using, like anywhere, everywhere, wherever I can use it. Okay, I can save my time so that I can use that time at the right place. Thank you, Ruben.
My
You,
pleasure. Thanks for having me and giving me this opportunity to tell my story and share what we are doing. So hopefully, your audience will get some value out of it. And yeah, I mean, thanks a lot. It was a great conversation.
thank you, Ruben.